I'm Sora Schilling, and I live on the traditional land of the Catawba and the Sugary here in North Carolina. And I am an energy coach who also trains other life coaches on how to be energy coaches as well. So that thrills me very much. And my archetypes. So my nurturer and ruler are actually the same number. So kind of depends on where I am sometimes, which one comes first. But when I started the journey, definitely the nurturer came up. And so it was nurturer, then ruler, and then celebrity.
What I would love to hear from each and every one of you too is thinking about your combination. All of the other archetypes have connections within each other, and this is what's going to be you guys are going to love this in the next round of SMA, because we're really going to look at where each archetype are cousins with each other. But for your particular combination, how is that showing up for you? Yeah, I just want to hear any thoughts about how things are either amplified or you think some things get cancelled out because of your combination, where your challenges could be, kind of even harder sometimes, or if you think there's another flavor of an archetype that kind of brings in to kind of help you.
So what I notice with my three, right, nurturer, ruler, and then celebrity, is the way I entered life is that I amplified all of it. It was like on 100 notch. And so therefore I overgave as much as I could, right? And in order to do so, that meant that I was going to overdo how much work I did. So I was going to work a whole lot. Why? So that I could be the celebrity, so that I could have reached that fame and that abundance and live that luxe life that I love. But I love the beauty and the luxurious. But then my nurturer also is like, oh, but I'm here only to give all of me and my money. Like, why would I want anything? And so there was this pull in all these directions and a lot of shame for wanting everything and nothing at all. And so that helped me realize, okay, so I wasn't looking at my money. I was spending my money. I was working until all hours. I was totally depleted. And I was looking for validation everywhere in order for me to feel successful. And so when I started to harmonize all of them, and the way I looked at them was, since knowing these archetypes and loving archetypal energies already, I started to think about, okay, what is the energy of the archetype that is desiring for me to match and play from a sovereign space? And so for nurturer, it was, what is the energy of my business, right? So what does my business actually want from me? And it's not to overgive. Because once I learned how not to overgive, my community members were still so used to it. They constantly were trying to take. So I had to reconcile that and learn how to be really loving, but also firm in my ways. And then with the ruler, learning, okay, what is the essence of my joy? Because I kept on, I love what I do, but that meant I wasn't doing anything else. I think, Denise, you say in one of the videos, like, you basically take your passions and turn into profit. And that's what I was doing all the time. And so nothing was sacred for me. And then the last piece with celebrity was really honoring the energy of money. Like, how do I relate in a sovereign way, not just always wanting to have this imaginary amount so that I could spend lavishly, but how do I grow it in this conscious way, in honor of like the deep work and the people I could reciprocate the money to. So learning about my values. So yeah, that's what has happened with me.
I've been asking all the archetype groups too, because this is fascinating. When you go to join a course or a program or working with somebody, what are things that are an easy yes for you, and what are things that turn you off?
For me, I'm not a slow burn. So energy wise, I'm pretty an intuitive yes. And so I will read the sales page and things like that, but I'm a yes and I've made a decision first. And then what I go and do is I have to feel into someone's values and beliefs. Like they must meet me in this sovereign place where I understand their character, their lived experience, how they're navigating their business. And really it's about space holding for me. Are you a clean space holder who has that integrity or not? And so that's where I might do a little bit more like socials to get a feel of what that looks like. But more importantly for me, I look at like testimonials to see inclusivity or like things like that. And then I love being able to have an experience. So if they have like a 3-day free event or something where I could be there and witness their space holding, that to me is what really gets me home.
Okay, so here's a question that no one mentioned, giving back. So is it important to you to see that somebody gives back with their business or with their launch? So what if it was then a surprise on the thank you page to say, hey, and we're going to donate, you know, this, I mean, because we always donate for launches, but we don't do it as part of our launch. We don't talk about it really. And it was just a curious hypothesis for me to go, oh, would that be something that you would, especially if your business was geared towards connectors, nurturers, is that something that's just a must do? But it sounds like it's kind of not.
Because I've got the nurture ruler, I don't actually, I think anyone could do whatever they want. Like none of it really phases me. My only place is more around what I can feel when I'm looking at entrepreneurs is where do I feel like they're aligned? I don't care what that is, right? So if, for example, one is a celebrity archetype with some ruler and they're like, all this stuff pizzazz, then I'll be like, great, you're you. That's amazing. Like you be that sovereign you. And so someone who wants to talk a lot about like the donation, I'm not going to look things up. I'll be like, that feels really true for you. Like, yes, no problem. And so for me, it's more about looking it through the lens of each person and how they're showing up rather than even being skeptical about tactic, not tactic. Like that part doesn't faze me.
So there's so many more questions. Where do I want to go next? Okay, so I would love to hear about your ideal clients, okay? Because I'm a big believer in business. There's no right or wrong business models. There's no right or wrong, you know, clients. There's no right or wrong marketing that you want to do. It's just finding the right fit for you. And sometimes when we start, we don't know, and we're just, you know, either trying to be ourselves and seeing who we attract, or we try and be everything to everyone, which could maybe be a connector, nurturer kind of thing. But like, have you got awareness now of who are your right fit clients? Who are the people who've come in and, you know, they just need what you have? And let me give you a quick example, because Sora, this is relevant to you. You know, as a ruler, I used to always just go to like ruler conferences. And I was really kind of burnt out on it. And I actually don't even really love reading a lot of business books at the moment because my brain already thinks that way. So I don't need it. But I went to a conference that Sora did with Julie Parker, the Goddess Business Conference. And we were like, you know, what's next? And Julie was like, well, you have nap time if you want to have nap time. You know, now you guys can go into town and do whatever you want. And it was just, it took me a little while to calibrate that, but I realized how much I needed that space to be gentle and beautiful. And for me, it was like, yeah, we just have to be honest about who we are, because sometimes in business, I see people try and be like rulers in everything they do, but that's not what everyone needs. So because we're still going around in a circle, so we'll go Sora and then Yuandi, but I would love to even, you know, talk about that a little bit with you, Sora, about how, because you have that ruler energy in you, and so does Julie, right? Julie has that ruler energy too. And so when you guys were even putting the agenda together, like it was the most spacious agenda. I think going to that conference changed my brain about spaciousness and what people need around spaciousness. When you guys put that together though, who were you trying to target around that? And did you guys even try and pack the agenda even fuller than that?
Yeah. So I think that experience pretty much solidifies kind of like the people that I serve anyway, right? And so the idea is that we called into that space very responsible, respectful, mature beings, meaning that each and every one of you showed up knowing how to manage your own internal emotions and thoughts and feelings, and know when it was based on yourself and when it was with an interaction that was happening, but it was never going to be about that other person. So there was this real sense of being able to show up and experience things that might have been a little stretchy without feeling so overwhelmed or as if you were activated by it. And we did it all through the lens of beauty because both of us love that. How can we create this luxurious, beautiful, nourishing experience? And so we definitely played on that. And my sense of love of ceremony and energy, while she loves also a little bit more systems and gifts, was a great complement to one another in regards to how we held it. But for myself, I think being someone who overgave and was the person who entered into business, being like, I will serve everyone and anyone, and being like, no, that's not true. And so now I've noticed for myself, I'm not for beginners. Right. I'm not there to help nurture that introduction of a space. I'm here to be pretty precise in where we're going. I'm here to be loving, yes, and playful, but you get fierce Sora when you enter. And so really honoring that aspect of me and letting that be okay. And therefore, my time and wisdom and how much I've done this means I'm asking for a lovely amount. And also, my ruler is now engaged in what does sacred leadership look like? How do I redefine what that means in a circular way? So I get to have fun in those capacities now.
So would you say it's not a particular archetype necessarily that you resonate with it, but it's someone who within their own archetype is in their mastery or they're in their self-awareness part? Is that,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes,
that
I
makes
feel
sense.
like my ruler with nurture knows how to hold all of the archetypes. It's simply, I don't want to hold you when you're in the beginning aspect of it. But once you're aware of it, we can play in all of the areas. Like I can go with you into all of those. And so, absolutely.
I would love to hear from everyone. What is your last archetype? You know, and you might not know, but you might just intuitively know, because I find we actually get a lot of information from that too. And that can either show up where you need to hire in people for your team. So for me, connector and nurturer are not my highest. So I need to make sure I have customer service people on my team to bring that nurturing energy, right? That's a massive gap.
Last one, and there's like far difference, is accumulator. And then right, and then there's far distance, and then it is connector. And what I noticed is, yeah, so I had a really hard time accumulating and holding and saving and loving and just letting it be rather than giving out and outpouring. And then I realized if I begin to harness this idea of bringing together all of me in one. So my energy was always dispersed in many things, right? Including my ruler nurture was like, let me try this thing and that thing and all this stuff. And so when I started to kind of harmonize myself is when everything else relaxed, including how can I hold more wealth in that way. And so that was a true learning of there was a moment where I had to accept that I'm very innovative, visionary, try lots of things. And that was possibly going to be a stage in my life until there was a moment in time. And then when that shifted, so not being so judgy with myself. And then when that shifted and I was able to settle in and really feel like, okay, all of those different beta testing really brought me to this point, I could now really create a well. And so that really helped my accumulator. And then I noticed it's okay to accumulate great, amazing people that aren't going to leave, that are going to stay with me for a long time and love me and all of that stuff. So that was really nice to see as well. Um, my connector ability is not so great in the fact that I don't have a lot of energy because it's either one to one or one to many. I don't have that like consistency. It makes me really depleted. So having groups that I have to always maintain or write emails all the time, that's just not a thing for me. So honoring that and not necessarily have it fall to the wayside, but also making sure people simply know. So my emails say like, I have a loving, calm email inbox. I may not respond in 24 hours. It's going to be okay, right? Like just so people know me versus show up in a way. And then, of course, asking my teams to support me in that way. But I learned that it was more important for me to be honest about who I was rather than trying to fit into all the different molds.
Yeah, I mean, do you guys have any questions or anything that's come up that you want to say or just reflect back?
Everyone touched on why others should join SMA. So I want to make sure that I put that in there too, because I do think it's so important. One of the things, there are three things I feel like. Number one was getting to understand myself better and using the archetypal energies to truly have additional, like you said, Denise, words to help anchor into either the shadow qualities that are coming to the surface or embracing the light qualities that were beneficial already. So that helps me. But the second was it gave language to others. So how I can relate to others and not be judgy or frustrated or noticing what it looks like in partnership and why there might be some friction or not. And how do we relate to one another and realize, oh, they may be coming at it in a completely different lens than myself. And so it creates a lot more grace when it comes to relationship building and being so much more compassionate. So I think there's that piece that I think in general as an entrepreneur makes everything, because then as an entrepreneur or as a coach, my ability to understand the different lenses means I can speak to each person in a much more clear, loving way. It means that I can offer based on the needs of diverse learners or diverse ways of beings. And it helps me get clear around what are my yeses and my nos. And so to me, that has added even more value when it comes to myself in my business.
So, are you a ruler, a connector, or a maverick? Hang on, maybe you're more of a romantic or a celebrity. Take the money personality quiz right now and find out which of the 8 money archetypes you are. And then I'm going to teach you how to profit from your strengths and make money in your business based on your natural personality. Click below and find out more.